I'd like to introduce myself if you wouldn't mind. My name is Scotty Ray. A few nights ago, I was digging around trying to find an old piece that Paul Harvey did. It was titled, If I Were the Devil. Well, I finally dug around on YouTube and come up with it, and it was real scratchy, and it was hard to hear, and I had to turn it up really, really loud. So I thought that I would voice it. I'm not trying to be Paul Harvey because I don't think there's anybody that could ever do the voice work and be such an influence on America that Paul Harvey did. But what he said was so true, and I thought it needed to be reshared where you could hear it clearly and pass along such a strong message. This is from 1965, and I hope you'll join me for just a couple of minutes to listen to this. Let's go back again to 1965 to the words that Paul Harvey had to say. If I were the Prince of Darkness, I would want to engulf the whole world in darkness. I'd have a third of its real estate and four-fifths of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I'd seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set out however necessary to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I would begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of the serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince the children that man created God instead of the other way around. I could find that what's bad is good, what's good is square, and the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father which art in Washington. Well, then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors on how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction, and I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves until each, in its turn, was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellect but neglect to discipline emotions. I'd tell teachers to let the students run wild, and before you knew it, you'd have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. With a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing and judges promoting pornography. Soon, I would evict God from the courthouse and the schoolhouse and then from the houses of Congress. In his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and defy science. I'd lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbols of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I'd kill the incentive of the ambitious. What do you bet? I could get whole states to promote gambling as a way to get rich. I'd convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, and what you see on television is the way to be. And thus, I could undress you in public and lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.